The problem with immigration at the moment is the movement of money at gunpoint to fund the movement of people. So people who come to Western countries as a whole get huge amounts of welfare, get huge amounts of free housing, get free education, get free health care. All of these things are paid for by existing taxpayers, and that is compelled transfer of funds.
Okay.
And the problem really is not the movement of people, it's the coercive redistribution of money.
Sure. Well, first off, you know, I was going to say surprise, but it's antonym day. It's completely expected that you compared people searching for a better life for their family here in the United States to cab jackers, to carjackers. So thank you for that. I think we're off to a great start. I want to make sure that I understand.
Not actually, hang on.
Okay, all right. Well,
don't misrepresent
you
my
speak
argument.
Okay,
No, don't misrepresent my argument. Otherwise, I might be in grave danger of thinking that you're not listening to me, which, you know, doesn't bode well for an interview. What I said was, I'm not saying that they're carjackers. I'm saying it's not fair to steal whole and hard labor on their communities and so on to get started in life or to get going, which is why between a third and a half of immigrants to America in the 19th century went back home because they didn't really like it. It's one thing to come to America because you're attracted by the beacon of freedom and free markets and limited government and low taxation and liberty and First Amendment, Second Amendment, all of the good things that America put into its constitution and legal system. It's quite another thing to come for free stuff. Coming for freedom is good. Coming for free stuff is bad. So I think that the welfare state is a disaster for immigrants, it's a disaster for taxpayers, and it's also a disaster for native-born people in West Virginia.
Freedom versus free stuff. I'd really be thrilled if I were into sound bites. But I want to go back to that point of our sort of mentioned people who came here originally. The original settlers. Originally, we are a nation. Let me ask you, since you wanted to delineate between legal and the illegal immigrants, those people you're talking about, they come here legally?
Sorry, which people come here illegally?
Well, the people who first came here. I mean, I'm assuming we're not, unless we're talking First Nations. Are we talking First Nations?
Oh, so I see what you mean. So the Europeans...
Yeah, smallpox blankets, right? That's a legal immigration, as we're talking about the starting point. I mean, I just want to make sure I understand.
You know, the smallpox blankets thing is a complete myth, right? They didn't even have a germ theory back in the day. There's no evidence that it was ever used as germ warfare. In fact, as soon as inoculations were available for smallpox, they were given to the native population. Nobody wanted them to die. It's like saying, well, you see, the native population in North America gave the Europeans syphilis and tobacco, and therefore that was a kind of genocide. It's like, no, this, you know, the communication of diseases and people who hadn't been exposed to each other's pathogens in the past, you know, it was a huge mess, it was a huge problem, and the idea that we're going to try and take current legislation regarding immigration and throw it backwards in time half a millennia, I don't think it's a particularly productive discussion.
Well, my only point is we say we're a nation of immigrants, and then we talk about the difference between legal immigrants and illegal immigrants. We are a nation of illegal immigrants. Anyone come here legally, they come and commit a genocide, and then all of a sudden we want to close the books. I don't think it's consistent. So let me ask you this. What do you think should be done?
So, hang on. Are you saying that it was bad for the Europeans to come to North America, that it was a break in moral law?
Yes, I certainly think that genocide.
Okay, so then we should, if that's your argument, we should not allow it to continue. Like, so that's in the past. We can't do anything about that. But if you consider coming to other people's lands or other people's countries to be a bad thing, then surely you should support stopping it now, because two wrongs don't make a right. If you find something wrong in history, you should want to prevent it from occurring in the present, right?
Well, and if I had the foggiest idea or inkling as to this notion that these people right now coming here in caravans or fleeing persecution in Syria are trying to conquer us and commit genocide, as we did, First Nations, I'd agree with you. The contrast is they came here to kill, these people are coming here for a better life. So I think we should afford them that.
How do you know that they're coming for a better life?
That's why most immigrants come to the United States. Would you disagree? You just don't know how great the country is.
Well, sure, but coming here for a better life can mean that you want to come and work and contribute to the society, or for immigrants as a whole, particularly from Mexico and Central America, the vast majority of them end up on welfare. So it's one thing to say, I want a better life because I wish to pursue all of the free market opportunities to manifest my brilliance in trade, or you want to come and squat on the taxpayer's dime. That's, you know, looking for a better life, but that's not the right way to look for a better life. Like, if there's some criminal who goes and squats in some rich guy's house while the rich guy is out on vacation, you say, hey man, he's just looking for better housing. Well, yes, but is it moral what he's doing?
Well, I certainly think that obviously one is, I will concede that one is preferable, right? But would you concede that both are preferable to genocide? That's my point.
Why are we bringing genocide in?
Again, if we're talking about whether it's migrant caravans, whether we're talking about refugees from Syria, I don't think that their intent is nearly as severe as that of the white men who took it from the First Nations, who nearly wiped out an entire race of people, and that's the basis.
But the intent of the Westerners or the Europeans who came to North America was never to wipe out the domestic population, ever. They traded, they bought land from them legitimately. The same thing happened in South Africa, and unfortunately, up to 90% of the natives were killed by the smallpox virus, which had also ravaged Europe for many centuries, in fact, thousands of years. And unfortunately, the native population fled, thus carrying virus. And by the time the Europeans got to most of the villages, most of the population had been killed by this terrible virus, which is a horrible tragedy throughout history, but is not the conscious application of the idea of genocide at all. And it's incredibly disrespectful to everybody who was involved in the settling of North America to say that they were all Nazis. It's simply incorrect, and it's irresponsible for you to say.
I didn't bring up the word Nazi at all. I brought up the word genocide.
Oh,
no,
right.
You're right. We brought smallpox.
The Nazi imagery.
We brought smallpox, and they gave us vitamin C, so they helped our scare relief. But anyway, you cut it. So let's go with this now. Let me ask you this: Donald Trump's policy on immigration. Obviously, you've been a supporter of his. Are you a supporter of his platform on immigration? Or let me be more specific, I guess, since he hasn't really done a whole lot. The platform that he ran on. What's your stance on that? What do you think we should do in dealing with immigration today?
Oh, I think America needs to vastly reduce the amount of immigration that's going on at the moment. And there was, I think, a 30 or 40-year period from the 1920s to the 1960s where America had almost no net immigration at all. And America survived and did all right. And because America's been taking, 1 million legal immigrants a year and a couple of 100,000 illegals coming into the country for decades now. So at some point, you have to have a chance to digest your meal. You know, you're in some lovely buffet in a cruise line, and you're eating like crazy. At some point, you have to stop, unless you're going to go full Roman vomitorium on everyone. So at some point, you have to stop and see if you can digest. And this huge experiment on whether the American character can survive endless waves of third world immigration, well, it remains a conjecture, and a really shaky conjecture as to whether it's even going to work. So at some point, you have to stop taking people in, and you have to start assimilating the people who are already here. So I think Trump doesn't go nearly far enough with regards to immigration. Of course, the border should be sealed, because right now, immigration is a giant welfare program that.
So building a wall. You support building a wall. I want to make sure I understand you correctly. You're pro build a wall.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And if I'm not missing it, you're saying you'd go further than Donald Trump. Just no immigration at all to the United States right now?
Well, I mean, I would say let's start with 0 and then see how close we can get to it for, 10 or 20 years to find. Because right now, the people who are coming into America are not in alignment with traditional American values as a whole. I mean, there are lots of exceptions individually, but we have to make group decisions when we're looking at large numbers of people. So the Hispanics who are coming in are voting overwhelmingly for large government, socialism, and they're very anti-libertarian. The people coming in from the third world are the same way, and that's why the left is importing them, not because they like them, but because they know they're going to vote for the left. This is a form of cheating when it comes to elections. It's stuffing the ballot